This is the busy Minneapolis downtown intersection where Rachel David was killed 8th, and had it been right in front of popular restaurants, the Capitol Grill and Union. Authorities have said Rachel David was in a crosswalk. Tonight, her son wants to know why his mom is gone. It still remains a very tense scene, a virtual standoff between demonstrators on one side and police on the other. These train tracks right here divide this North Minneapolis neighborhood on my left with popular Weber Park on my right. You can see some of the playground equipment over there. They were absolutely appalled by this historic black and white image that depicted a public hanging in Texas more than 100 years ago. And tonight, Joe's Crab Shack, this national chain, is offering a big-time apology. The BCA confirming tonight that Jamar Clark was unarmed at the time of this deadly shooting. I am told by the sheriff's office their deputies did provide a secure escort away from this facility. There was some real concern about his safety after these stunning verdicts. The damage to this pop-up camper is truly remarkable when you see it in person. Also starting to think about a family of 5 tucked in, ready for bed during Saturday night's storms, when all of a sudden, a tree snapped down on top of them. Could you ask for a better showcase, a better way to celebrate our national pastime? It was electric inside this stadium, the weather. For the very first time, Kaya McMillan is sharing her story. This is a woman whose passion it is to care for and work with the most dangerous of the mentally ill. She signed up for the job, but she certainly didn't sign up for the horror that unfolded last July. Is this a lifelong permanent injury?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been able to drive since that day, take care of my daughter, go back to school.
Kaya McMillan chokes back tears as doctors at the U of M Medical Center monitor her brain activity around the clock.
It's just affected every single aspect of my life. I never imagined it being like this.
It was 9 months ago. Kaya was working as what's known as a security counselor with the most volatile of the mentally ill at the State Security Hospital in St. Peter. She reports that a teen patient with a history of violence had gotten out of control. Kaya was part of a team trying to get the young man out into a courtyard to calm him down when he snapped.
He came at me and punched me in the face and grabbed me by the hair and threw my head against the brick wall that was right there a couple of times, and then kneed me in the back of the head, and that's when I lost consciousness.
Kaya, 25 and working on her master's in mental health counseling at the time, suffered a traumatic brain injury. Seizures followed. Doctors are now trying to get those under control with this hospital stay that could potentially last up to 10 days. From her bed, she is now anxiously following the debate over state funding for the treatment and care of the mentally ill. She's been told her vicious assault has inspired Governor Dayton to push for significant upgrades and additional workers on the St. Peter campus.
More staff will help, more security will help. It's at least a starting point, but I mean, more training, more logical training.
As for her future, Kaya has no idea what comes next.
Even if I end up being okay physically, mentally, I don't know if I can ever go back and do what I've been working towards my entire life. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to provide the life that my daughter deserves. It's just changed everything.
Well, Kaya has not been able to return to work or school since the attack, and she needs help from her family caring for her precious 4-year-old daughter. She tells me she still has so many nightmares about what happened. She actually takes medication to help her sleep peacefully. Paul Blume, Fox 9. The family really describes this as a double tragedy. Of course, the anguish of losing a loved one, a 24-year-old young man, just 4.5 months ago, and now today another heartbreaking blow for them.
I can't see him pressing charges against his little police officers. I mean, I guess it's the first time for everything.
Wilma Clark just had a gut feeling. She so wanted someone to blame for the death of the young man she helped raise. She so wanted to see the 2 Minneapolis police officers charged with murder.
They need to pay and be accountable for what they did, like everybody else. They shouldn't be no different just because they're police officers.
They just killed my son for no reason.
James and Wilma Clark raised Jamar since the age of 4. Foster parents, Jamar took their last name. On Wednesday morning, we watched on a community TV in their Northside apartment building as the Hennepin County attorney crushed their spirits.
Because my heart just sank, end quote.
Oh, please.
Ringenberg believed he was going to die.
The couple remains skeptical of the official case details laid out by Mike Freeman. They believe there's absolutely no way Jamar said he wanted to die that November night.
I don't believe that for a minute.
The Clarks also want to know why no other witnesses corroborated Jamar's so-called death wish and why lethal force was necessary.
Isn't that what witnesses are for, to tell what they saw? They ain't going by none of that thing. Only thing they going by is what the police officers are saying,
They got out of it. I don't know how they live with themselves. Take somebody's life.
This is a very devastating blow to the family. It's actually a terrible tragedy that has happened to my nephew, but I'm going to continue to pray for justice.
All of us can relate to it. You're running a few minutes late to work, you're on the Bluetooth, someone cuts you off. This woman insists all she did then was honk her horn at that vehicle that cut her off in the heart of Minneapolis, in the heart of rush hour. Tonight, she is home, grateful to be alive, with a bullet lodged just 3 inches from her heart.
I'm sorry, it's really hard because all I did was honk my horn, and he tried to kill me.
Upset, angry, scared. Kat asks us not to use her full name or show her face. She's just too afraid that the men who shot her will try to track her down.
And I really hope they catch these guys that did it because I can't sleep at night.
What we can show you, though, are the bandages and the bullet holes. One tore through her stomach and is difficult to look at. Kat was shot a total of 4 times. This was her car following the near-deadly road rage incident. The way Kat tells the story, she was heading to work down busy Hennepin Avenue. She'd missed her turn and honked at the Jeep Grand Cherokee that cut in front of her. Traffic cameras snapped several images of the suspect vehicle, described by some as beige, tan, or gold. Kat vividly remembers 3 people inside.
3 black men, one was driving, one in the passenger. I did see a black handgun before he shot me. He had short dreads, light skin, skinny.
The shooter was sitting in the front passenger seat. Before opening fire, Kat recalls him rolling down his window and demanding that she pull over.
5 seconds later, I heard pop, 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 pop. Never been shot before. I didn't really know that I was shot until I pulled up into the valet stand. I realized I had blood. I had a big hole in my arm.
After the shooting, Kat was rushed to the emergency room at HCMC. She spent 2 nights here and was sent home with a couple of the bullets still lodged in her body.
I have 2 bullets in me. I have one in my arm and my bicep, and then I have one in my shoulder, 3 inches from my heart.
Just 3 inches. Kat knows she is so lucky to have survived. She just can't believe she was almost killed because she apparently did something as simple as honking her horn.
We all honk. We all, somebody cuts in front of us, we honk our horn. I don't think that, if you honk your horn, don't shoot back.
Kat went on to tell me she hasn't been able to sleep in recent days, explaining every time she tries, she has nightmares about the eyes of the shooter. She insists she will never forget the shooter's eyes. Tonight, MPD asking for the public's help. Kat absolutely believes someone out there knows who pulled the trigger. These actions come on the heels of this frightening incident late last night. Several Black Lives Matter protesters injured in a shooting that some people are calling a targeted hate crime.
We get to 14th and Morgan, and all you hear is pow, 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 pow. And my brother got shot in the stomach, and I got shot in the leg. It went right through, hit me and went right through.
18-year-old Wesley Martin identified himself as one of the 5 Black Lives Matter demonstrators who were shot late Monday night. He described the gunman as masked and on a mission to take out protesters who have occupied the 4th precinct for more than a week now.
You lucky?
Oh, I'm lucky to be here today, and I'm glad to be here today.
His leg bandaged, walking with a cane, Wesley insisted nothing would keep him from what he calls the fight for justice.
I've been out here ever since it started, all day, every day.
No justice, no peace.
Wesley was joined by throngs of supporters on Tuesday, rallying outside the police station. The demands remain the same: to release the videotapes of the deadly police shooting of Jamar Clark and to make sure that there is a fair and impartial investigation. Protest leaders making it clear that the overnight shooting would not scare them away.
We will not bow to fear or intimidation. Black Lives Matter exists to fight against this type of violent white supremacy, dangerous anti-black rhetoric, and criminalization of black people.
Northside, we outside!
The growing crowd, filled with many high schoolers who participated in a near Minneapolis district-wide walkout, then took their chants and their demands out onto the streets with a promise to not give up the fight.
My next step is to lead the people. And if I got to lay my life on the line and die for what I stand for, I'm going to lay my life on the line because I believe in what my ancestors died for.
Fox 9's Paul Blume recently sat down with one of those victims who blames police for not doing more to stop a potential child predator.
Not something that I'd wish on my worst enemy even.
Troy Cole remembers every second of that bike ride home.
The only thing he said was, if you don't be quiet, I'll kill you.
November 30th, 1986.
This was a life and death situation.
Yeah. I pretty much thought I was going to die that night.
It was a Sunday, a school night. Troy was just 13, and he had to make curfew after hanging out with friends at a downtown Painesville pizza joint. He was a block from his family's house on Stearns Avenue when he was grabbed from behind, ripped off his bike, and dragged into some nearby pine trees.
I was petrified, terrified.
Troy never saw his attacker that night, but he recalls the guy had a knife, he threatened to kill, and he grabbed the frightened teen's private parts. The last thing the man did was cut off a clump of Troy's hair, took the boy's stocking cap, and disappeared.
He told me to lay there in the trees for 10 minutes, otherwise he was going to come back and kill me. So I don't even know how long I laid there. I mean, 10 minutes, that's an eternity.
Troy and his dad reported the assault to the Painesville Police Department. It would be one of at least 8 similar incidents around these small cities downtown between 1986 and 1988. Troy explained that he and the other victims were in a small circle of friends and felt they were being stalked or watched. All of the attacks seemed to involve the same suspect description: short, heavy-set man, a raspy voice, face obscured, hiding in darkness before pouncing. Federal authorities recently detailed the assaults in a search warrant application connected to Danny Heinrich. The question, was Heinrich the person of interest now identified in Jacob Wetterling's gunpoint abduction, in essence getting more and more brazen in his hometown? These documents reference Heinrich's close resemblance to the suspect descriptions, the fact that his then apartment sat right in the heart of what's now known as the Painesville Assault Cluster, and that modern DNA recently linked Heinrich to a brutal kidnapping and attempted rape of a young boy nearby Cold Spring during this very same time period.
There's too many questions unanswered that should have been answered 29 years ago.
Court documents show that the then Painesville police chief actually suspected Heinrich in the unsolved attacks in his community. Troy recalls knowing Heinrich back in the 80s, describing him as a bit of an odd guy who hung around downtown, always wearing camouflage and a baseball cap. The now 42-year-old dad admits he isn't sure that it was Heinrich who attacked him. He recalls the suspect kind of disguising his voice, making it, quote, more staticky to shield his true identity.
Something that sticks in your head you never forget.
In one sense, Troy explained that he never wants to know who exactly caused him so much pain over the years. He remains frustrated that his community appeared to minimize the significance of the assaults when they were first reported, remembering people mockingly dubbing the attacker Chester the Molester. And with the Wetterlings still so desperate for answers a quarter century later, Troy wonders why police didn't do more to crack the Painesville cluster in time to possibly thwart a monster.
My whole name is Jacob Irvin Wetterling.
They could have probably prevented it from happening. They wear a badge that says to protect and serve. Why didn't they? They didn't do anything. Nothing. I'm just so frustrated.
Part of Troy's frustration is through all these years, he claims the only time he spoke to an officer or a detective was the night of that assault. He says, in fact, officers never even went to the scene of his attack. I did track down the former Painesville police chief at the time for comment. He told me he just doesn't remember either the time period or the names involved. Reporting from the newsroom, Paul Blume, Fox 9.